Hey, this is Kelly Koontz from Submeter Solutions. If you want to learn how to use your small axe to build an empire, you should be listening to the Small Axe podcast with my good friend Nico.
Hey guys, it's your boy Nico here from the Small Axe Podcast. I want to show you how to use your small axe to build a lasting empire. You see, not everybody begins their investing career with millions of dollars, a huge network of investors, or the knowledge necessary to become successful in this space, and that's okay. What I focus on here on this podcast is helping you hone your skills, sharpen your tools to become the best investor that you can be. Now, I want you to sit back, relax, and enjoy this show. If you have any questions or you want to reach out to me or the guest, feel free to do so. Love you guys.
Okay, small axe people, small axe community, it's me, Nico, and today I'm really excited to announce that I have an awesome guest to share a really cool product and service with you guys, something that is going to benefit you and your businesses. His name is Kelly Koontz. Kelly, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Nico. I'm happy to be here and excited to talk with you about submetering.
This is going to be such an awesome and pertinent conversation for me and my listeners. I'm excited as well. Kelly, before we get there, can you spend a couple of minutes just sharing your journey and how you got to where you are today?
Certainly. I am a Seattleite from the great Northwest, born and raised in this area. And my career has spanned from manufacturing in the aerospace business in the shadow of Boeing up here to printed circuit board manufacturing. And then I got into the submetering industry back in 2010 when I joined my business partner who had just started up this little company called Submeter Solutions. And we launched together and have been growing ever since then. So it's a little about me. I am married with three adult daughters and five granddaughters. So we're 8-0 for females in my family.
I love it. Cool. Kelly, tell us a little bit more about this submetering solutions.
Yeah, for your listeners, they may know something about submetering, but we are a company that is all about helping multifamily property owners or managers to deal with one of the biggest regular costs they have, which are those ongoing utility costs that they may need to deal with. And it's not uncommon for a utility to have set up the property where they're providing, say, water to the building, but the owner has to pay that, and those charges are not directly charged to the residents from the utility. So what submetering is all about is we can start by putting an actual meter on the supply line to every single unit at the property. So now we can measure exactly how much water everyone's using. And then part two of that is we can actually offer monthly utility billing services that allow us to then send a bill to the resident based on the exact usage and the rates the utility charges. And now that property owner is getting that revenue in from their residents so that they can pay the utility bill. It's huge for maximizing your return on investment. You're recovering those utility costs, and you've got somebody else that's doing all this. It's not on you to do that.
Awesome. Thank you, Kelly. Now, what if somebody doesn't pay their bill? Does that fall on our responsibility, or do you reach out to them, or how does that work?
Yeah, it's a great question. And we get that asked quite a bit. One of the things that we really encourage is that you make sure that your lease is designed appropriately, and we can help with that to make sure that the tenant knows that this is part of their obligation is to pay that bill. We've even seen some managers and owners write into their lease that any monies collected are first applied to a outstanding utility charge and then applied to rent. So if they don't pay their utility bill, they're really not paying their rent, and all of those tools that you have to deal with that come into play. We see sometimes that at first, when you make a change, residents sometimes are caught at first not paying, but it really within a couple months, everybody falls into the routine of paying the bill.
Great. But there's so many questions. Let me start with this question. What about, is there a benefit to doing a sub-meter as opposed to like a flat utility bill back fee to charge to?
Yeah, super good question. So if it's certainly very common and legal in most jurisdictions in the United States to do a pro rata allocation method. Our industry has an acronym called RUBS. Some of your listeners may be familiar with that. And that is certainly better than doing nothing at all and trying to just recapture those costs in your monthly rent. You are now breaking out the utility costs to the resident. The unfortunate part about that is it still doesn't create any real incentive for the residents to conserve the water. You still have residents that are basically paying for their neighbors' usage as much as their own. But the advantage with putting a meter in for everybody is now they pay for what they use. And the magic of our business is when you put meters in that haven't been there before is the overall utility bill is going to drop 20, even 30% after a couple months of that.
Oh, interesting. You know, when you do the rubs, it's like you can only get, like, you're only supposed to calculate like 90% of the cost anyway, right? So now you're trying to capture 100. I'm sure there's some sort of cost involved with using your services, which we'll get to at some point as well.
Right.
But very interesting. Now, is there water out? Water out costs money as well, right? Not on.
Yeah,
right.
super good comment. We focus on the water coming in, and that gets measured with the meter if you have a home or whatever. But in almost every part of the United States, the sewer costs can be 2.5, 3 times as much as the water costs. The infrastructure that the sewer utilities have to build to treat that water is much more than just delivering the water in the first place. And yet that sewer bill is most of the time based on how much water you have coming in. So it can really be a big impact on both water and sewer.
Yeah. For my listeners out there, I'm obviously shopping as I'm speaking right now, right? Because I noticed that as well. So if we are saying that we can kind of reduce, like, by all of a sudden they have their own meter now, and the tenants are like, oh, I better cut back on my water usage. I can save myself some money, but in turn, they're also saving us money on the sewer. Okay, awesome.
Yep.
Great. And before I stop, I don't want to stop this conversation, but is there sub-metering that you do for electric as well, or no?
Yep, I'm glad you mentioned that. Water gets a lot of the attention because that's typically the utility that has not been billed directly to an apartment resident. But gas, electricity are also very, very common. And we have meters for those types of utilities as well. We even can get a little fancy with reading systems for AC if they're central systems and stuff like that. But yes, electricity, if that is something that you're covering in your rent, that really should be the very first one that you want to talk to someone like us about, because that's you want to pass those costs on to the residents, and we can help with that.
Great. Now, before we jump into that, though, what does it look like when we get a sub-meter for the water? Let's stick with that for now.
Yeah, and this the things that we'll talk about then using water as an example are really applicable to both gas and electric as well. But it all starts with a meter, a water meter. People will sometimes believe, well, that must be expensive. But we use utility grade, highly accurate water meters that tend to be a little more compact in size than the one the utility installs in the pit box outside. And they can be installed anywhere in the house, outside the house. And the key about it is they all have electronics inside of the meter now that allow us to connect it up to a meter reading system. So all of the data coming from the meter does not have to be read by a human. It's getting pushed up to the cloud so we can access that anywhere on our computers, and that data is available to the ownership as well as the managers as well as the billing company. So the meter and transmitter that goes with that is installed by a plumber or an electrician in the case of an electric meter. And all of this equipment that I'm describing is really designed to be easy to install. We will work with a local plumber to help if that's necessary, but we commonly find a lot of our clients have no trouble even installing this without the use of a plumber.
Interesting. Cool. And is there some sort of app or something that we track, or do you give that information to whoever wants that information? Like our property manager would basically track it for us, or do you track that on your end?
We have software that the owner or property manager gets access to. We typically don't share that with residents because that can get to some other issues coming along. But we will make that available to the owners. What's great about that data is you can see trends. You're going to have a daily read of usage. That the software is super sophisticated. One thing we like to highlight is that the software even will notice, for instance, if a toilet flapper is leaking water and running water in a toilet, and the software is designed that will even send an email or text alert to the property manager to alert them to that.
That's so cool. I'm thinking the gears are turning. So are there any types of properties that you just can't do it on? Is there a type of plumbing or a type of old electric, maybe aluminum wiring? I don't know. Is there something that we can't even consider it on?
So the answer for electricity is no. We can always submeter electricity and figure out a way to get a meter on there. And the kinds of meters that we use are very non-intrusive. And you can call us to give you more details about that, but they're not expensive, $200 to $300 a piece, and easy to install for somebody who's familiar with the electrical panel. When it comes to water meters, sometimes it depends on the plumbing at the property. And you mentioned like an older building, 30, 40 years ago, no one really worried about the cost of water. It was an incidental. And so the strategy for plumbing may have a lot of shared pipes between apartments and the walls. But we usually still can come up with methods to submeter. One example would be if the apartment still has a hot water heater in every unit, we know that the hot water is separated by each unit. And we can put a meter that measures the amount of hot water, and therefore we can submeter using that.
That's wonderful. Okay. And what do these units or meters look like? Because you mentioned that they're not the same as like what we would get from, I guess, when we went through the utility company.
Yeah. For apartment buildings, you would recognize them as a water meter, but they tend to be a little smaller in size, and they can be made out of some high performance engineering grade plastics. They're very accurate, and they have more electronics built into them for our reading systems than you may otherwise think of with a meter that you just read. The price of the meter with a transmitter for a typical apartment is only about $120, both meter and transmitter for each unit.
That's wonderful. Dude, well, I was going to get there. I didn't want to ask you, but that's like a really good price. So then what is the cost on the back end for like through your system, through your software?
Yep. So if you start with that $120 per unit, let's say you have a 10 unit apartment, you're going to have that for the cost of the meter. There's going to be an additional $2,000 to $3,000 for the system gateway. And then you have to factor in probably a plumber to install those meters, maybe $100 to $200 per unit. So that's a very classic pricing. For that. And now you've got a metering system in play. And you can stop there. If you feel like you want to just do the billing yourself, we'll set you up so that you can get access to the meter reads. You can look at it once a month, sit down with your Excel spreadsheet and split the bill if you'd like to do that. But what we can now offer is part two of our business, which is we will do those billings for you. We'll access the same data. We'll get from you the utility bill with their rates on it because it's super important that we're only using the exact rates that you're being charged. And then we'll create a bill and send it to all of your residents. And on that bill, we can have it where they just remit their payments straight to you. Or if you'd like, they can send it to us and then we will reimburse you once a month for that. It's a little more if we go through that part of the accounting. Most of our clients actually just like the money coming straight to them, and that's great for us. The way we get paid on that second part is we will put a small billing fee on each bill each month. Say it's $4 or $5 a month on a smaller property. And so that cost for doing that monthly utility billing is essentially free to the property owner because the residents are paying us for that.
Mm. Oh, so they also pay the fee.
They pay the fee.
Interesting. Now you said $2,000 to $3,000 ish after buying each meter. Is that depending on the size of the property? Like, let's say it was a 40. We have a 44 unit property.
Yeah, great question. It does depend on the size, but even a 44 unit property is still going to probably fit pretty close to that $3,000. Now, if you have a 400 unit high rise, we're going to add extra repeaters and that price is going to go up from there. But typically anything under 40 or even 50 units is going to stay in that $3,000 range.
Cool. Oh man, I'm loving this. Now, is there a way to like go like and manually read them? Let's say the software failed or something. Would we be able to go on site, I guess?
You can. The meters are still conventional meters with a register face and the dial on there. You can do that, but really, because of where the meter is installed, most of the time it's inside the residence unit. You don't want to have to worry about that. So the good news about our reading systems, they're wireless, they're super robust. It's very mature technology. They are battery powered, and don't let that scare you. They've got a 7+ year lithium battery in there. And when it needs to be changed, the system tells you the battery's getting low and you put a $3 new battery in it 7 years from now. So if we were doing the billing for you on a monthly basis, part of our service is actually to let you know if there are any hardware issues that need to be addressed, like a low battery.
Hmm. And would it detect a leak in or something? If I don't know.
As we mentioned earlier, the kind of leaks like a toilet running, it will give you an alert that tells you something is amiss because there's water constantly running. If somebody's left a garden hose on, you would get that kind of an alert.
That's so cool. Now, is there like a warranty on these meters?
Absolutely. Manufacturers can offer multiple years coverage, but our company will give you a 1 year warranty, no questions asked, kind of bumper to bumper for everything. And typically, as I said, the same companies that are building higher end bronze meter that goes in a pit box in the ground are the same companies building these, and they are high quality, very accurate. They have to pass all the same standards that a utility company is required.
Kelly, I am loving this. Do you like, let's say I just said, Kelly, I'm not sure about this, and I sent you over my property and some details. Would you be able to give me some sort of like cost benefit or cost analysis or something like that?
Absolutely. That's what we're built for. So if your listeners are interested, they've got a building and they'd love to get some more facts and a proposal with a very specific pricing, they can contact us. Our website is submetersolutions.com, and we've set up a special link there that if you go to submetersolutions.com/podcast, it'll get you an opportunity to give us a little bit of information about your property. And then you'll be contacted by our sales team. And within a day or two, we'll send you a formal proposal that will have all the specific pricing and our billing services all outlined for you.
So cool. Are there any specific like local laws? I know you alluded to something earlier. You said the majority of municipalities will permit you to do a utility build back or a RUBS, but is there anything we need to consider prior, or do you do that like feasibility study prior to us, I guess, hiring you?
It's another good topic to talk about with you, Nico. That submetering, our whole industry is built on some important principles. One of them is that you can't use this as an opportunity to make extra money as a landlord. You're only able to recover your specific costs. So we take that super seriously. We're going to be monitoring to make sure that you're not overcharging, but you're also not undercharging either, and you're getting back as much as you can. And every jurisdiction in the country may have a different spin on this. Some may have some requirements on how much that billing fee can be. Some can say they won't allow RUBS, but they will allow submetering. So we have a really extensive database that we work with within our industry. So part of what you get when you contact us is we're going to make sure that you are in line with the codes and the laws specific to your area that you're located.
Oh, I love it. What about Section 8? And then I had one more question that I want to ask.
Yep, Section 8, and we have a lot of clients that are that are just low income housing properties and the like. And it used to be they would say, well, we don't need to submeter because we have to cover that as part of the fee. But more and more now, we have clients that are using submetering systems, and sometimes they're very creative to create incentives for their residents to conserve water. So they may not necessarily be charging, but the data that they're getting on what their usage is can be really helpful. And then I just highlighting again that whole leak detection. We've got other low income or emergency housing clients that are buying our systems just for leak detection, to make sure that they're not going to be exposed to insurance claims and whatnot. And if that's your specifics, let us know about that, because we have some additional equipment to help with that as well.
Oh, this conversation is awesome, Kelly. My listeners are going to love this. Super valuable. My last question on this topic has to do with and you might have answered it, and forgive me if you did, but the user end. So like as a tenant, how are they paying? Is it online? Do they still mail a check somewhere? Like how does it work for them?
Yeah, super good question. If we've set up the billing so that we're collecting the money and then reimbursing that back to the property once a month, the resident has all kinds of options to make that payment. They can set it up with an automated ACH. They can use a credit card, mail a check to the company. So all of those standard payment options are available to the tenants as you would have for any other utility.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kelly. Okay, we are going to transition to our final and ultimate question. You already have 8 daughters and granddaughters, so this is going to be great. But let's imagine now it was 100 years from now. Now you have great granddaughters. Now
yeah.
there's 30 or so. And these granddaughters wanted to write great granddaughters wanted to write a book about you. What would you want them to title this book?
Oh, what a fun question. I think that one of the things that my granddaughters right now would probably be able to share with you is that they would say that they call me Pa, that Pa really has a zest for life and adventure, for new roads, for getting out and experiencing life outdoors, and not just the same ho hum. So what I hope and pray is that they would think about their Pa from 100 years ago as somebody who was not afraid to experience something new, to be bold and challenge yourself. And that's how I like to live my life. And I really appreciate that I'm seeing that happen already with my daughters and my granddaughters.
Oh, that's wonderful, man. That's the best type of legacy we can leave for our heirs. So thank you for sharing that, Kelly. All right, let's get the listeners some form of contacting you.
Yep. Just again, submetersolutions.com. If you add the /podcast, you're going to get right to a form that's going to allow us to get your contact information. You're going to get a call from one of our sales team, and we're going to have a proposal for you within a couple days of you contacting us.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for joining me today, Kelly. I am really happy we spoke. I got a lot of information from you. I want to continue our conversation, and I hope that my listeners will, jump on it as well and contact you ASAP.
Well, thank you, Nico, for the opportunity, and look forward to speaking with more of your listeners. And I really enjoyed speaking with you today.
Likewise, the feeling is mutual, Kelly. Let's keep in touch.
All right. Hey, Small Axe community. I would like to say thank you for listening to another episode of my podcast where we show you how to use your small axe to build a lasting empire. Now, if you liked what you heard, it would mean the world to me if you would subscribe, leave a 5-star rating, and write a review. Also, if you want to get in touch with me, go to my website at smalaxecommunities.com. Book a call with me. And until the next episode, keep sharpening those axes.